So it's all every man for himself at the moment, and only then Tola for Kelme still on the front. Union Jack waving. Well, we haven't heard any information on what's happened to David Miller, suffering with that crash and the terrible abrasions on his left side, right up to his hips and his elbow and his knee. Coming up toward the top of the climb here.
AG2R Salomon.
So Salomon it is then, and
surprisingly, David, the Telecom team have taken up the chase. It's not their job, but I reckon the tactic is to keep Ulrich out of trouble, because there's so much people there we see on the side of the road. They're pushing in on the road a lot, and it's very dangerous. And I think that's the only reason they're riding, just to have a 3 or 4 riders from Telecom in front of Ulrich and open the road for him and keep him out of danger, because it could be very easy to crash here with the people pushing so much onto the centre of the road.
Right, now this is where we have some very long sweeping descents. There's quite a wide open road. It's not too bad at all down here, and they go down until we have about 3 kilometres to go, and then with 2 kilometres to go, the 2 kilometres are straight up.
Serrano, Taylor and Serrano are the 2 leaders.
Now, looking at the points that we've got so far, I think we've got about 3 blokes on 10 points each, so presumably it will go to the rider who did the last climb. If the 3 riders equally on 10 points, just knocking this out on the back of an old Fank packet. No, I do not smoke, but just during doing it, I think we'll have to wait for someone like Mike Smith to do the sums back there on this one, because we're still watching everything going on. I'm not saying Mike won't watch it, but I reckon we've got 3 blokes, in fact 4 blokes, all with 10 points on the King of the Mountains competition, including Jackie Durand. So I think in that circumstance it might go to the best placed man on the last climb. We shall see. 10 kilometres to go. Flashing up our screen here, it says Salmon of the AG2R is the new leader on the King of the Mountains competition. So my thoughts that the man at the top who got the 10 points would be take the jersey, unless of course he snaffled one further back that I didn't get a note of, but certainly Salmon will take the points jersey off Jackie Durand, who's way off the back at the moment, not his sort of territory here, as we go over the top, and this is where they start to drop down with long sweeping bends, and gosh, these people are out all over the place, aren't they?
Yeah, just to confirm, David, that you're absolutely right. If you remember, going back about Salmon just beat Brochard over the top of the second King of the Mountain climb, called the Côte du Forge. He's just taken the last one, Côte de Tilmont. So Salmon actually has 20 points,
20 points,
and that will put him in the polka dot jersey.
As you spoke, I was going back to the second climb. Thank you, Mike, for waking me up. It's siesta time here in the commentary box. Right, so you're still reading the same way then, Sean, but going through the crowd. Are they going to persist with this then?
Well, yes, they seem to be still doing the pulling here, but I was just thinking on that. I think Zabel must be here in the group, so they're probably doing the 2 things, keeping Ulrich out of danger, but also for the sprint, Zabel, it's a sprint that I think he's very capable of pulling off here, because an uphill sprint he's very, very strong at this sort of sprint here in Serang.
Well, what about the chance of the Credit Agricole there with Stuart O'Grady? There's a whole wad of green and white jerseys coming through.
Yes, well, certainly O'Grady, it's a finish that would suit him as well. It's a strong man, a very strong rider's finish, and O'Grady is that style uphill. But Zabel also, it's a finish that would suit him perfectly, and the Telecom are riding. So I reckon they're doing thinking of the sprint for Zabel also.
Well, Zabel this morning on the points competition had 40 points against the 45 to Kursbu. Kursbu got 2 more points on the way in here, up to 47, but he's marooned at the back, well down. I can't see him getting up to this group at all with 8 kilometres to go. O'Grady started out with 43 points in the green jersey competition. He snaffled a couple more as well in one of the early sprints, so he's actually got 45 points now. So we should concentrate really on O'Grady and Zabel, because Zabel has 40 points, O'Grady has 45 points, and so those two will be in contention for the points jersey. Mark Wolters, the yellow jersey leader, he this morning had 35 points in the points competition, and he now is out of contention for that one. So it's going to be between O'Grady and Zabel unless something remarkable happens. Hunter in the competition for the green jersey, he's got the white jersey as best young rider, but he had 26 points, and coming up towards the finish of the stage today, the points want to jot it down on what you got, your copy of Cycling Weekly, Pro Cycling, I don't know, Cycling Plus, whatever you're watching the tour upon now. If you want to jot down in the margin the points for the end of the race here, the leader over the line will get 35 points for the points classification in first place, and in second spot will be 30 points, and in third spot 26 points, then 24 points for the fourth spot, fifth is 22, and sixth is 20. So those are the main numbers that are really going to be important in this group here now. So I'll give it again. The first man across the line 35, second 30, third 26, fourth 24, fifth 22, 6, 20. So those are the main ones. It goes right the way down to 25th spot, where there's just 1 point. So the further you go beyond the point of 20 points, then it goes down to 19, 18, 17, 16. So you can work that out for yourself right the way back. But really, after the position of 20 points for sixth spot, they then start to go down exactly 1 point apart. And so watch out then. This is the green and white colours. That looks to me like Bobby Julich hanging on near the front. Now there's an extremely good climber too as well. And on the general classification, Bobby Julich is lying in 10th spot, 31 seconds down. So we could see an interesting shuffling of the pack for the riders in this group here at the moment. But certainly it's going to be bye-bye to Kursbu and Wolters in the general classification. I wonder how many of them know what lies ahead, Sean. Would this be recce'd by any of the teams? I mean, they recce the Alps and the Pyrenees, but I suppose only local knowledge from local riders. What do you think?
Yes, I would just say local knowledge, and also they would know from the race book, they'd see that the finish goes uphill, so they will all be inquiring and have been inquiring about this, so they will know it's a difficult run in, and they will be all trying to stay up in the front just to not to lose any seconds in the final 2-3 kilometres.
Yes, the race book shows about just under 3 kilometres, 2.5 kilometres, the climb that's on there, and it just shows the top of the climb is about 200 metres, about 180 metres above sea level from the zero level they put. So from the bottom after the summit of the Côte de Saint-Tillman, they drop right the way down from position which is 270 metres above sea level, drop right the way down, and then we're just inside 3 kilometres to go. They'll see the sign with 3 kilometres to go. And this is Guarini, I think, going on the front now, and is that Brochard behind? Certainly, Guarini's a good climber.
Well, I think everything is going to be for Zabel from here on in. They've taken it up. Everything was for Zabel, but I think they were, looking after Ulrich as well with the dangers there on the final climbs, and they're just going to keep it going to the finish here. And I would see Zabel pulling it off very possibly here.
But he's got to get to take the stage victory, hasn't he? Because you look at the points in the points competition, there's 5 points between first and second, and 4 points between second and third, then only 2 points. And this morning as we came out, that O'Grady was 40 well, as at now, he's got 45 points to Eric Zabel's 40, so he's got to knock 5 points out of O'Grady in the positioning. So if O'Grady came in with him, alongside him, and he finished first, Zabel, O'Grady could finish second and still be in there, both of them on equal time. So Zabel will probably get the jersey, but what is going on here, all the waving?
Well, I don't think Zabel will be thinking of the green jersey at this moment. I think just a stage for today. He'll be going for, and with that he take a number of points also.
I don't know what they're waving for there. The 14 is Hebner, a strong rider anyway, and Cloden was sort of put his arms up, and Cloden is very much one of the chaps identified to help Ulrich. There's you reckon in this group then, Sean?
I think there's around a group of 80 riders. 70-80 riders. But Cloden, he was disappointed there, so the riders weren't coming through quickly enough from the Telecom team.
Well, that's the run in toward the finish now. You can see him coming through there and then whizzing round, and then up we go toward the top, and it is a 2.5 kilometre climb, and that last kilometre is all up a bit of a drag too. So that's where they're coming through now, twisting and turning. You can see they really are rocketing along here, and the twist towards the left will be happening before very long, and again the team on the front are the Deutsche Telekom team. When they go round on this left-hand bend, they will suddenly look up and start, oops, and here we go, chaps. Get the oxygen masks out, and the steady drag, and it gets worse and worse.
And I think for O'Grady at this moment, he's going to be hoping to make a very good sprint, because in the general classement, with Walters dropped out from this leading group, he has a good chance of taking the other jersey here today if he gets up in the sprint.
Yes, because O'Grady 10 seconds down on Walters before it all split. O'Grady now is there and looking back down for the people in this breakaway group at the moment. The Brugger, I think, is still there. Kirsty's gone. Morrow is still there, and Bobby Julich is still there, and Armstrong is there, but Armstrong's at some 20 seconds or so away from O'Grady. O'Grady has a chance here, so got to watch for the battling Aussie, who seems to put all his year into riding the Tour de France. But there, the pink train, and there is Ulrich there in the National Championship jersey. And looking back, I think that is Bobby Julich still climbing up there for the. And don't forget that Julich also is in good position overall. He's lying this morning only 31 seconds down on Walters, who's out of contention. Walters now marooned way at the back. Morrow is still there in the blue and the yellow on the right hand side. The jersey going on to his shoulder, yellow jersey at the end of the prologue. And he's still waving his arms, isn't he, Cloden? He wants them to go faster, faster. Look at Armstrong. He's just sitting behind the Telecom team, but he looks like he's short of teammates. Sean, what do you think?
Well, yes, we haven't seen many of his teammates, but I think he's comfortable there. The Telecom team are doing a perfect job. They're pulling along at a very good pace, and that suits Armstrong. It keeps him out of danger, so he's up here in that position. But I see Zabel is still sitting there in quite a good position, so I think the Telecom guys are going to be difficult to beat. I would see Zabel pulling off this one. If they come down to a straight sprint, definitely I think Zabel will be the strongest.
Well, Armstrong and Ulrich, they were separated by 3 seconds this morning. Yep, so last kilometre, Armstrong is looking to come through, and looking, I can't see, yes, it looks like Stuart O'Grady, about 5 back from the front at the moment. Just hold your breath for the man who was told that he got the green jersey yesterday, but he proved on a count back he hadn't. And this is Botero probably, he's a danger man there. If he's Botero, watch out for him, because he can certainly climb. He took the King of the Mountains jersey in the Tour de France last year, and he was 37 seconds down on Walters this morning, and that means he was 25 seconds away from O'Grady, and there are 20 seconds for the first man across the line. Then there's 8, then there's 4, and still again on the front. Wunderkraft doing a fantastic ride. Is it typically Wunderkraft territory on the front, towing and towing and towing, and they start to go now. It looks like Tassado coming through. I can see Bobby Julich grimacing, but I can't see at the moment O'Grady coming through. There are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 riders coming through here, and still then There's a lot for grabs here, and one of the riders from the Bonjour team starts to go, and Confidence probably side, and everybody's all across the road as Armstrong starts to go, but Zabel has got this one at the moment. Looks like Zabel's going to take it then. Zabel coming through, and Zabel has hit it, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and looking back for O'Grady, Zabel's gone through there. That'll be same time as the winner, but we'll check the second and third for you. And suddenly
Zabel for Magnan.
And did we get the third then? There's Robbie Julick just further back. Magnan is there. There's Zabel getting it. Absolute territory for Zabel. Making it look so easy, but what a hard drag it was. And Eric Zabel, he's won about 16 races this year. He's in such fine form. Somewhat grumbling that he hadn't got lead-out men, but he's got good lead-out men for a finish like this one. A long drag like that suited those riders who've come in to look after Ulrich, particularly if you like Wunderkopf and Kloden. This is their territory, but this is the man who takes advantage of their ability to help him. Wham! Another one in the bag. That's his 10th victory in the Tour de France. Looking back to see the green and white jersey of O'Grady. If he's in this pack, he'll be given the same time. Who was the third place? Sean, can you pick it? It might have been on the left-hand side. So there, as they go, Ulrich dropping down here. Right-hand side, Armstrong starts to go. Zabel comes through like they're glued to the pavement. Somebody goes off on the right-hand side here.
Yeah.
So that's Magnan. But who is the rider? Come on, let's see the third place. Well, oops, my computer's gone on the blink. I'll wait for the officials to come up here. But it's one of the Mappe riders, I think, down the left-hand side here. So Mappe, I'm looking on the general classification, and I think he probably came through and got it. That could have been Bettini, possibly. Back from there, and now then, is that Verbrugge? Because Verbrugge this morning, no, he didn't get any. Got it! O'Grady's just come over my headphones, and he's got the yellow jersey. And Hunter looks like he's gone into second spot, and it looks like Zabel moves into third. We'll wait for confirmation on that one. Hold your breath.
Well, it was a long time after that before we saw this group trailing in, some 4 minutes, nearly 5 minutes behind the leaders who sprinted it out a little earlier on. And even in that group, you did not see Jan Kirsipuu in the green jersey, and more importantly, Mark Wouters in the yellow jersey. And there is Mark Wouters coming in another group, still further behind, together with Kirsipuu and Freddie Rodriguez and one or two others. Roman Weinstein's the world champion in that back group, 6 minutes and 36 seconds behind that man, Eric Zabel, who took his second stage in 3 days. A very good day for Team Deutsche Telekom. Magnan and Garzelli getting second and third, and Eric Zabel absolutely delighted with his 10th stage win. He said yes, there was the possibility of killing two birds with one stone today, taking the stage, getting the green jersey back after the first two climbs. I was still in the first group, and at the third climb we had the possibility to make a bit of the pace. There was no reason to really break away, just stay at the front and keep the pace good. For Jan, it was important not to lose any time on his rivals, and for me to win the stage. It worked out very nicely for us, and I'm very pleased that I've also managed to get the green jersey back. Well, obviously the man in yellow is always the subject of interviews, and it was Stuart O'Grady. The second time he's been in yellow, back in 1998 he took this yellow jersey, and needless to say the Aussie man was really made up, as they say, down under. Taking over from Christophe Moreau, the first leader, having won the prologue.
Just a lot of thanks for everyone that supported me and the team that stayed behind me. Seem to get a lot of results but not too many wins, and it's days like this that make everything turn around and just thank you to everyone.
Well, I know that one big thank you from Stuart will be undoubtedly to the team manager of Crédit Agricole, Roger Leger, who was behind much of the success of Chris Boardman in recent years. And Roger said, well, I feel a lot of relief for today and a lot of thanks to everyone. O'Grady's a serious boy, always does his job at 100% all year round. He was unlucky last year, he crashed and broke his collarbone, but this year, at the beginning of the season, he was a little bit of unlucky at first, got a lot of seconds and thirds and worked for the team, but he was very motivated for the Tour de France. He wanted to do a good prologue, he did that, and then took some bonus times out on the road, and now he's got the yellow jersey. It's good for him, it's good for the Crédit Agricole team. I think that we are on the right lines now as we're getting well into this year's edition of the Tour de France. Roger Leger, the director sportif of Crédit Agricole. But you can't take much away from this fella, can you? His second stage originally, did he really make complaints about the team being made up more for Jan Ullrich than for him? Well, it doesn't seem to matter now, does it? Because there you see he's built up quite a lead. He gets 35 points for a stage win, and he's got 2 of those, totaling 75 points. But we had another change in another jersey, and that was the polka dot jersey. 3 climbs today, and Benoit Salmon won 2 of them to get 20 points and go ahead of Nicolas Jalabert and the former leader Jacques Durand. A change in the white jersey too, the young rider, and the white jersey back on the shoulders of Festinus Flambrard, who of course won it earlier when he did a very good prologue at the start of this tour. Now then, your question to the stars. Well, we had 1 or 2 people asking Kevin Livingston if he could help us out a little bit, and would he define precisely his role in the telecom team since he took over his place there, of course, from formerly the US Postal Service, and that was quite an issue on. So we found Kevin.
How would you define precisely your role in the telecom team now and then later in the mountain? How would you define it?
It's pretty much similar. I stay around Jan and try to keep him out of the wind, and that's the whole team is doing this. So it works well. We work well together. And then again in the mountains will be the same, but we're going uphill. It's a little harder. And more, it's just a presence and make sure he stays out of trouble and stays in the front.
So a similar role for Kevin with Telecom as the one that he had erstwhile, of course, with the US Postal Service team. Well, the race moves on, and the next stage, of course, takes the race from Belgium back into home territory, and from Huy to Verdun. Jean-François Bernard, former rider and stage winner in the Tour, says, I'm not sure that it's going to be a quiet stage because there's a lot of riders off the back of the general classification with a lot of work to do. After what we've seen from the beginning of the race, I think we're going to see more breaks going on this particular route. There's the profile. The weather forecast pretty good, just the outside chance of a possible shower as Jean-François Bernard continues. A lot of riders are going to try to break away for the stage win today. A stage in the Tour is always important for everybody. Well, of course, the race comes back into France, and I reckon that the French guys are going to be particularly motivated once this race gets back into their territory. Well, remember, it's Huy to Verdun, 215 kilometres, 4 King of the Mountain climbs early in the first half of the stage. We were last in Verdun in 1993 when Lance Armstrong won his very first stage. So, are you going to join us? Usual time, 2:30 CET, or 1:30 if you're watching on your British Eurosport anywhere else in the United Kingdom. Stay with us here on Eurosport for the very best coverage of this year's edition of the Tour de France. Till stage 4, this is Mike Smith saying goodbye.
attacks to come and to try and dislodge O'Grady from that yellow jersey position. O'Grady, meanwhile, in that sprint after the Duffield, he managed to get across the line, because by then they caught the leading group at Florentville with 90 kilometres to go. Menion had got the sprint there. Angluto was second and Albron third. So the final sprint, when they all came together, was important for O'Grady to get some more bonus, and he did. He got himself across the line in first spot and took the 6 seconds vital bonus there. So he's moved himself 6 seconds away from everybody else. So we've got 16 kilometres to go. The Bonjour team still working hard at the front here. They've got two interests in this for the Bonjour team, and they're going after our breakaway threesome. They've got Didier Roos in 15th spot at 33 seconds, and also they've got a couple of useful sprinters in here, Simon and Naison. This is Laurent Jalabert. Now then, Sean, along here you've certainly followed the career of Jalabert over the years, and a lot of people likened him to you, or you to him, as the case may be. Just a few words about Laurent.
Well, Jalabert, he's had a fabulous career, and what a turnabout here. He was back the road in the second group there some time ago, and now he's out the front of the race. So what a change about, and that's the way cycling goes. One moment you're chasing in a second or third group, a minute or two down, then you find yourself up the road in the leading group and going for the stage and possibly taking the jersey. Jalabert here, he's had a fabulous career, and this year he got knocked out at the beginning of the season. He fell from a ladder in his house somewhere, and he missed all the beginning of season. So maybe we can see him coming into this tour maybe a bit more fresh than he has over the last couple of years, and who knows, maybe he'll make it one of the best tours we've seen from him for a good few years.
Well, they're heading up towards the top then of this, where the Fort Douaumont will be there, and that was a fort which was constructed by the French, looking across before the First World War, to use the height above sea level, quite a considerable height above sea level, around about 388 metres, and they constructed this fort, and in there they built lots of tunnels, 3 kilometres of tunnels, into which they could use as observation points, and where they could keep ammunition and also keep their artillery as well, to try and defend this particular part of France. In fact, on the 8th of May 1916, 679 soldiers from the German army managed to get into the tunnels and go in through there, and unfortunately they blew themselves up and got killed in the tunnels amongst the munitions. And the battle raged thick and fast, but you can't understand it when you go over the top and down the other side, but you can see all the pockmarks in the woods, because the woods have grown over it now, and according to the information I've been given, it was eventually, when they finally took this particular part round here, anywhere between 500,000 and 700,000 soldiers from the French and the German armies were killed in the constant battle, went backwards and forwards. And when you see the small amount of space they were fighting in, and how it raged backwards and forwards, then it's just mind-blowing what went on there. And we shall certainly see at the top the great memorial to those warriors that died in that struggle between 14 and 18. Well, when they get over the top of this climb, it's a pretty good run down in toward the finish. The wind is still tricky, and the French now cheering because they see the man here in the whitish coloured jersey, 131. That's Laurent Jalabert, who is now technically race leader overall on the road. And Mancheva just behind him took the leader's jersey in the young riders competition last year, and Dirksen, who started it all, because Dirksen was the man that launched the attack further down the other side of this slope, and it looked like his supporters club were out there in strength. He went, I think, just to show himself, but as he came across past there, so Jalabert got to him, and Mancheva, and they persisted with the attack. Laurent Jalabert started out this morning on the general classification, just down there in 25th spot at 39 seconds. The yellow jersey of Stewie O'Grady is now under threat, because the gap is sufficient that Jalabert is at the moment the virtual leader on the road. The Bonjour team have been doing what they can to pull it back, looking for the sprints of either Simon or Naison to win the stage, and there is that monument I mentioned to you. Well, those 500 to 700,000 soldiers dying in this great battle across for the Douaumont fort. The trees have now covered the pockmarked areas, the trenches that were built. went on in the 14-18 war and that particular serious battle in 1916. One minute 10 the gap now between our leading three riders and the pack. We're just going to take a left turn down here shortly. Spectators coming out, many people just coming up as visitors to see the memorial here, and many people just coming out to hear on the riders. And in fact we just stopped as it turns left here and spoke to a couple of Australians, Jake and Travis, who have come from Brisbane, and one up there from north of Brisbane as well, and they came here and they've been riding their bikes from Lands into John O'Groats. They're out there trying to cheer on Stuart O'Gray. They got into France yesterday, came across here to see the race go through. They're going to stay with us for most of the race, and like most of the Australians, very pleased to see the Aussie in the yellow jersey. But O'Grady has got to really go some now, because the gap then just over a minute, and he will really lose that jersey unless they can pull something back here, because O'Grady starting out this morning compared with Laurent Jalabert at 39 seconds that could be certainly beneficial for him. Manchebo also there, he started out this morning 49 seconds down on general classification, so he could move up as well. This is an interesting state of play, because the lads from the Credit Agricole, who worked so hard yesterday and the day before, have they got anything left to pull back this threesome group? It's very good there to see Laurent Jalabert back after that terrible accident, by the way, and the confidence that the CSC team had in recruiting him to get back in action. And so he's obviously coming towards the end of his career, but it must get Sean Kelly, it must be getting a bit harder to maintain your enthusiasm all the way through. Particularly, I won't say he's got enough money to retire, but certainly the older you get, surely the much harder it must be to drive yourself along. But he's just not giving up now. He's courageous as ever.
Yes, he sure is. And when you look back at the career he's had, and he's had some he's had some bad luck as well. The most recent one when you fell off the ladder, and when you get something like this, if you have a problem maybe with crashes and you break a collarbone or break a wrist or something, which is very common in professional cycling, and he fell off the ladder and hurt his hip, I think it was, and he was out of action and out of competition for a long time, and to come back, that takes an awful lot of willpower. And when you're at a stage of your career like Jalabert, it's more difficult again, because you've done it all, you've been there, you've won almost all the races, and I'd say financially he's done very well, so that's not going to drive him on to continue. So it's just that you want to you feel like you have a bit more and you can win some of the big ones, and you just go on until you feel that there's no chance anymore of winning any of the big events.
Well, Sean did just that. He got a few bob in the piggy bank when he was coming towards the end of his career, and Sean went on riding with a couple of smaller teams, wasn't it, Sean? And what was that, just to pass down your expertise to them, or was this just you didn't want to pack up racing?
Well, actually I did want to pack up. My final year I wanted to pack, but then there was this team and it was built by Galopin, and I knew him quite well because I raced with him, and he just kept on to me to know would I sign, and because he needed a name in the team, and eventually I decided I would. But the programme was quite light, and actually I enjoyed that year because the pressure was off, it was very relaxed, and it was the year that I enjoyed most, because when you're relaxed like that you can enjoy a racing after the racing, let's say, but in the racing itself I did suffer a lot because my form was a long way off my best.
I've said it before, Sean, I'm sure that you'd like to say a few things about that too, that you have to enjoy racing, don't you, to get at this level. And also, I mean, when you started at Calicon, sure, you just didn't sort of start riding or say I'm going to be a professional engine driver or a professional brain surgeon as I'm going to be a bike. You have to enjoy riding a bike, don't you? You just start because you like cycling, or you've got this ambition to be a pro even before you got your leg across a bike?
No, well, I had no ambition when I started cycling. I was in Calicon, sure. We started in the club there, and I just started doing club races, and then we started travelling around Ireland to races. And I think the thing that attracted me in my beginning was I was bred on a farm, and when we were going away the weekends, I was getting away from the farm and work. So that was one of the reasons.
You're 7 days a week you have to work on the farm, don't you?
I enjoyed Saturdays and Sundays away because I was getting away from the normal farm chores, and I just continued on from there, and I knew nothing about professional bike racing. I just got stronger and stronger, and I just developed each year to be a bit stronger.
Well, those who are new to cycling on Eurosport, British Eurosport in particular, Sean Kelly 4 times winner of the green points jersey, the Tour de France, which was a record at that stage, broken by Eric Zabel, who took the 5th of his green jerseys last year. Eric now looking for a 6th green jersey, got marooned at the back of the race when the split happened, and it's just over 1 minute now for the riders in the front. Yeah, down to 1 minute. Is Eric Zabel still back behind in the chasing group, do you think, Sean?
No, I haven't seen Zabel in this group of Ulrich Armstrong, this leading group. I haven't seen him at all, and there's no talk of him over race radio. I don't think he's in this leading group, because if he was, I think we would see some of the telecoms giving a handout to the Bonjour guys in the chase. So I reckon he's been left behind for some reason, and very surprised that that's happened, because it's the sort of stage that would have suited him today. Flash wind, echelons. It's that type of race that he tries best in.
Well, we're just inside 10 kilometres to go. It's 55 seconds the gap between this main peloton here, chasing after our 3 breakaway riders, Jalabert, Dixon and Montebo. Here they are on your screen now, and the gap is coming down. At one time it was getting to about 1 minute 20 seconds. It's now coming down all the way. It's a long run in towards Verdun here, over the slightly downhill, and the last 4 kilometres, maybe 5, it is flattened out. A little flip through Verdun itself. They'll be going through. They climb through the town. For some reason, we go partly out of the town, down another main road, and back in towards the far side of the town. There's a very good crowd here gathering at the finishing line, and it's a sort of swinging right-hander to come into it, which may cause a few problems for a big bunch. And all eyes there on the yellow jersey of O'Grady. He's got 2 of his teammates up in front, who are working hard to pull that gap back. But it looks like the Craig Agricole, the green and white, have only got 2 men with O'Grady, so it's thinning down the numbers. But what Stewie wants to do is just get this pack together. So provided he can stop any breakaways of riders who are close to him getting out down the road. Moreau is 17 seconds down in second spot. I'm discounting here the 6 seconds that Joe Grady got, because 47 seconds it is now. Well, 47 seconds. If you knock off the 6 seconds that O'Grady got in the previous bunch, and the gap then back to Jalabert. Leslie Jalabert this morning was 43. So it's getting close now.
45 seconds. That's the advantage O'Grady has over Jalabert.
So once it comes below 45, then he can breathe a sigh of relief, as the riders here from the Credit Agricole. Certainly it looks to me like that Hushford has got up there, or Voigt.
And Julik.
I know Julik did a wonderful ride this morning. For those who didn't catch part of our early part of our programme, he was part of a 9-man breakaway group that went away after 52 kilometres of racing. They went over some very much up and down territory, where Hoagland got the points for the King of the Mountains jersey. They got over a 10-minute lead, and that was a great move by Craig Agricole, because Julik started out this morning just 21 seconds down on his teammate O'Grady, which meant everybody else first had to do the chasing to pull them back, and they caught the 9-man group after 133 kilometres, and they've been away there for 80 kilometres, nearly 50 miles. Then, as we have reabsorbed, the split went on between the main group until they absorbed, and then slowed down a bit, allowed these 3 riders to go away as they swung into around about 25 kilometres to go. Off they went, but now they can probably just see in the distance the town of Verdun, and Laurent Jalabert's moment, perhaps some virtual overall leader in the yellow jersey, might well come down. Look at this big sweeping road here, and the wind's rather nasty, if I remember correctly, from here on, isn't it, Sean? Didn't we have a sort of rather gusty bit
on the run-in?
Yeah.
Yes, well, when we come up through the town, we take a right-hander on the big road there. It's a very, very windy section there, slightly head-side wind, so it's a hard run-in. And with the Credit Agricole guys riding on the front now, 47 seconds, it will be very, very tight for them, the 3 guys, to stay away.
Well, 47 seconds a gap now. This morning then the gap was 39 to Jalabert, plus the 6 that O'Grady got. The sprint down the road means that he has 44 seconds. He's getting within 3 seconds of closing that gap now and keeping the yellow jersey. But he can't relax for a moment, though, because a lot of other riders colours hovering round about him. A quick rundown on the general classifications we came with this morning, ignoring that 6 seconds to O'Grady in yellow. Morrow from Festina in the blue and the yellow colours at 17 seconds in second spot. Third, Rick Verbrugge of Belgium. He wears a red jersey. He was 18 seconds down. In fourth spot overall, Jens Voigt. Well, he's a teammate of O'Grady. He was 20 seconds down in the green and white colours. Beyonce Ryder in pink, Igor Gonzalez Galdiano was 20 seconds down this morning. Bobby Julich, again a teammate of O'Grady. He was there this morning, 21 seconds down in sixth spot. Lance Armstrong, last year's winner, 21 seconds down in seventh spot. Eric Zabel, 23 seconds down in eighth spot, and Jan Ulrich there in ninth spot at 24 seconds, and Brad at 10th spot in 24 seconds, and Botero 27, Velocki at 30. Breakaway here by these three men seems perhaps to be coming to of no avail, because the gap between these three and the chase group is probably getting closer to 40 seconds now. Laurent Jalabert in the white jersey, hoping that he could have got away and stayed away, because he had the deficit of only 39 seconds. And so they're now coming in towards Verdun and the final few kilometres of the race. There we are, that's the way they come in toward the finish. They twist here, and then as they come round, this is where the wind starts to come dead at them, and then when they come around, it blows them on towards the right-hand side, up alongside the lake there, and you can see then that they're going to have that wind blowing them across the side of the road, having been into their heads. So the gap now is 40 seconds, and it looks to me now as if the green and white jersey can breathe a sigh. Voigt has worked so hard today, and don't forget he was in fourth spot this morning at 20 seconds down on his teammate O'Grady. And also in there, Bobby Julich was a sixth this morning at 21 seconds. So they're having to work for O'Grady, but they're also improving their own, maintaining their own position, because we do know that Zabel's been under a bit of trouble earlier on, so he could be dropping out of the top 10 certainly. I think Brad might have made it through to there, but we probably see just a little minor shuffling of the packs in one or two riders dropping out of the top 10 places.
So inside 4 kilometres to go there. And the gap is still at around the 38 seconds, so it's going to be very, very tight for O'Grady with the bonifications going. They have to pull back a number more seconds before they're sure of holding on to the jersey with O'Grady. Yes,
so 20 seconds extra there with 4 kilometres to go for Jalabert if he can make it across the line, and 12 seconds and 8 seconds also up for grab. 12 for second, 8 for third. I don't think that Jalabert will give up unless he gets the without trying for the 20 seconds. Probably those three riders, Sean, he undoubtedly was at one time a super sprint until he had that crash on Montier when he somebody ran into a policeman taking a picture with a camera, and bang, down went Jalabert. He fell straight flat on his face. He was drinking through straws. He had to have his, for weeks after, he had to have his whole of his teeth rebuilt and his jaws and everything. They were all wired up. He was in a terrible state. He and Nellison came down. Then the shock, I think, stopped him sprinting in big bunches after that, but amongst these three, what do you think of his chances?
Yes, well, I think he's definitely sure in the sprint, but he's attacking here now. He's going away from those two guys, so he's not taking any chances at all. But I think if it comes down to a sprint, he would definitely be the fastest of this three-man group.
Well, then those 20 seconds bonus are at stake. We'll have to get the watches out and be prepared then to see the gap back from O'Grady to Jalabert. And now the tacks are coming off the front two of this group inside. It's going to be so close then, because he gets 20 seconds bonus. Bear in mind then the gap was 44 seconds between the O'Grady and Jalabert this morning. But there may be the chance then here in Verdun, a very famous city in French history, that they might be able to get this man to take the yellow jersey. There he is, hammering away. Sean. Yes.
Jalabert, for me, he's attacking a bit too early, but I think he should have kept these guys riding with him and used them for the last time. Dirks is coming back on him now, so this is the moment where they can lose time, and that couple of seconds they could just be reeled in the last kilometre for this. But Dirksen's a very, very strong rider, and I was surprised for Jalabert that he went to the attack on his own, that he didn't use Dirksen, because Dirksen is a guy that he always rides. He's not a guy who will sit on your wheel and try and be carried to the finish. But still the gap is good, and I think this is Mongan from Française de Joux who's coming across.
Well, the bunch have now pulled back. Ronchevo, he's there, but Dirksen, he's such a strong workman. He's been a past Belgian champion. He's got 2 kilometres to go. Well, if Dirksen stays here and gets those first spot in the sprint, Jalabert will lose 4 vital seconds. In fact, no, 8 vital seconds. He goes 20, 12 and 8. The watchers are out here to see what the gap is. O'Grady's still there in the yellow jersey. He's not doing anything to come round. He's really leaving this brinkmanship. And what do you think, Sean?
Well, we see Voigt there. He was off the front of the bunch. He was 10 to 15 metres ahead of the bunch, which is the totally wrong thing to do. He should be sitting at the front of the bunch and trying to pull the bunch along, carry it along to the finish, so that O'Grady, loses as the least time possible. But they looks to be very disorganised in the bunch. When you see them grouped across the road all over the road in a group, it means the speed is not on. So I think there's no organisation in the group of O'Grady and the leading group of Armstrong and Ulrich. So I think I would put a lot of money that Jalabert will go to the finish.
Well, there we are, 1 kilometre coming up and down here, and it swings round to the right hand side. They've still got some problems with the wind, and then they're going to go round the right hand curve. It'll certainly aid these 2 riders in an attempt to stay away and get to the victory into Verdun on this stage 4 of the Tour de France. This big powerful man here still grinding away. Dirksen, he didn't turn pro until very late in his career. He was a rider what they call a commissar. He worked during the day as a paint sprayer in the DAF factory, and then finally he was offered a contract and he took it with a bigger team right towards what might call the end of his career. But he's shown good form by taking a stage victory in the Tour. He's also been the champion, but they don't seem to be going here, Sean, at any rate of knots. I mean, what is already playing at? He isn't even trying to launch across on his own.
Well, I'm surprised that they haven't been trying to pull it along the Credit of Cole guys. But O'Grady himself, he's probably waiting, because if he starts pulling himself, he's afraid he'd lose time in the other guys. So I would see that these 2 guys will definitely make to the finish now, and I would say Jalabert is definitely going to be the fastest of this 2-man group.
Perhaps O'Grady hasn't heard the news that it's Jalabert and Dirk. Perhaps he thinks it's two no-hopers. But when we come down here,
he certainly heard the news. But I think maybe he's under pressure after such a hard day of racing.
Well, Jalabert is going to be the darling of the French crowd here in Verdun as did he take the victory? Yes, he threw his arms up, but Dirksen was close behind. And watch the countdown on the clock then. They come round. In fact, they're just so 7 seconds.
Nazon won the bunch sprint.
But they did pull them back in those final few hundred metres, and it looks like O'Grady could have got it then, because there was only 7 seconds as he went through here. Jalabert, he'd have got 20 seconds bonus. That's 27. I don't think it's enough to get to the yellow jersey, but he's going to get the stage victory. Jalabert is back. Do you know, I don't think, Sean, there isn't anybody in the cycling fraternity that wouldn't be pleased to see Jalabert come back with a bang just like that. I think lots of people are going to be wanting to slap him on the back as he comes through now. The slow-mo for Jalabert to take the victory in Verdun, but so close to Dirksen, it could have gone either way. And the big bunch coming down here towards the finish. Unfortunately, our clock in the finishing straight did not show the seconds, but here they go. That's the stage victory for Jalabert. We'll see him on the podium shortly. We'll see O'Grady, if my calculations are correct, still in the yellow jersey, and also Albland, the King of the Mountains, and the white jersey will be up there too as well. That's the sprint. This is the photo finish on our computer. We now have a digital form in which they can get that. So Rodriguez actually just there, and I wouldn't Nazon and Rodriguez. Well, I wouldn't like to split them. Probably Nazon. We're looking back at the slow motion. Well, what a fantastic finish! So close.
So as we look at the aerial view of Verdun, We're now seeing later finishers. There's Alvaro Gonzalez Galdeano in the 11 jersey, the brother of Igor, with Sylvain Chavanel, that is in the blue jersey for Bonjour, and Nikolai Bolarsen of CSC, finishing 5 minutes and 57 seconds late, but that still leaves over 100 riders out on the road. So severe was the crosswind, the ups and downs through the Ardennes and the rest of this particular stage, that over 100 riders were blown out of the back eventually. There you see a little group coming in 14 minutes and 24 seconds behind. Christophe Agneluto, the fair-haired boy in the blue there, a former stage winner. He was in the break earlier, in fact, and look how quickly he has lost time. But there comes the main peloton, losing just over 18 minutes and 8 seconds, including in there, incidentally, Rick Verbrugge, who started the stage just 3rd overall, only seconds behind the leader. Big names went down the pan on this stage today, but this guy didn't. He rose right to the very top of the pile and claimed his 150th individual professional victory. Laurent Jalabert, the second French victory already in this year's Tour de France. This stage, he said, was very, very important. A win in the Tour, the first win of my season, the first one with my new team. It's something of a symbol, really. I needed to win this one to complete my comeback after my problems earlier in the season. Because of my accident, I'm still suffering a little bit, actually, and sometimes I wonder if I'll ever be quite the same anymore. So I really needed a victory to boost my morale. I'm still suffering with my back, but this win will probably help me forget about it a little bit. It probably will too. Jaja on the victory podium once again, just getting the edge on that stage 4. Well, a marvellous victory for him, but it was close, wasn't it? But this fella did just manage to hang on to the jersey. The Aussie, Stuart O'Grady.
A lot of long false flats, and it's going to be pretty windy if anything like today was going to go by. But we've got a good team, and our objective is to get in the first 5, so we'll give it everything and see what happens.
He's really referring to the upcoming team time trial, of which more in a moment or two. But there you see Laurent Jalabert closing to within 18 seconds. It's just as well that that lead group closed down on the leaders in the closing stages. No change at all there in the green jersey. Sabel holding on to it once more, but of course, in fact, he was well down in that back group, and O'Grady got points today, and therefore has closed the gap to just 6 points in that particular competition. Eric Zabel, though, still looking for a possible 6th successive victory in the green jersey competition. Patrice Engrand had a great day up the climbs. He took all 4 out on the road today to take over the polka dot jersey. I wanted to do well up the hills today, but I did find it difficult because of the numerous breaks that were going up the road. Yesterday, though, it was difficult at the finish, and I wasn't so well today. It was a struggle, but somehow I managed to get the maximum points, so I'm really thrilled about that. I made that break up the road, and that really helped to make the difference. I'm very happy tonight to have this jersey. Yes, and there you see, he only just made it. 2 points the difference at the end, helped by a 3rd category climb, the 4th of the climbs that they went over. That carried more points and just made the difference. Festina's rider Florent Brard, still 9th overall. He's the leader in the young rider competition. Well, now your question to the stars, and we had a couple of people wanting to hear from one of the Kelmy riders, Oscar Sevilla. Now, Oscar Sevilla is a little fella who's very good at climbing up the mountains, of course. He's currently lying very handily in 38th place overall at just 1 minute and 1 second behind Stuart O'Grady. So we sent our man Pablo after him, and Pablo said, everybody recognises your talents in the mountain stages, Oscar, but the question is whether you'll be free to have a go or whether you've just got to work for Santiago Botero. Well, says the young fella, at this stage of the race, I am free, but I have to be at Santiago's side, with freedom but next to him. That's the way it's got to be. If Santiago has problems, I've got to be there to help him. Maybe afterwards I'll have a bit more freedom, or maybe less, depending upon his performance. But the most important thing is to stick by him, because he's proved that he's a possible winner. Well, now we look ahead to that all-important Stage 5, the team time trial, which takes the riders from Verdun to Bar-le-Duc. It's time to hear more from Jean-François Bernard. This stage, he says, is going to be one of the first big moments of this year's Tour de France. It's always a difficult race for the teams. It's a difficult stage. Before the start, there's a lot of nervousness, a lot of anxiety. Everyone hopes that it will go okay. For the riders, it's a bit of a complicated day. The questions are, will I be well or not? Will I be useful or not? Let's hope they will. Well, the temperatures are going to be quite nice, up in the mid-20s centigrade. A moderate southwesterly wind. Let's hope that it all goes well for all the teams.
Festina watch his team out here. Something, I suppose, they've got to go somewhere. They were in second spot at the first time check. They're in fourth spot at the second time check. And we're waiting to see what they're going to do then as they come through here. There you can see it's 60 kilometres. Onse, Kelme and US Postal I gave you just a moment ago. Can the Festina team move in there and rattle the swords? Because they would like to be up there in the top 5. Team Deutsche Telekom have started very slowly. In fact, some of you may say too slowly, because they were 60 kilometres 1 minute down on the Onse team. Now in the Onse team, let me just pick out some of the riders in that Onse team, because they've got a very good package of riders. They had got on the general classification this morning Igor Gonzalez Galdiano, and he was lying in 5th spot, 26 seconds down on Stuart O'Grady, and his team, the team from the Credit Agricole squad, are setting the fastest time so far. In fact, at the first check there was 6 seconds ahead of Festina, and compared with the Onse they were 18 seconds ahead. Second time check they were 23 seconds ahead of Onse. We're waiting for the time check at 60 kilometres for the lads from the Credit Agricole team, but it does mean that if Onse keep at this rate of knots, they're going to move up on general classification, not just one rider but maybe some more, as now Bobby Julich begins to struggle. Well, he's been riding very hard indeed, hasn't he, so
he's
far?
actually had a puncture, David. Came over the race rated ahead of puncture, and he's coming back very, very strongly here, and he's been very strong right since the start of this race. He's been present all the time, up with the brakes, riding on the front for Stuart O'Grady, so he's having a fabulous tune. He seems to be in great shape at the moment.
And not only the way he's been riding, but he's I don't know if you had a chance to speak to him. I have this year, ever since the Paris-Nice. He's so chirpy now. He's a man of emotions, Bobby Julich. Finished third in this tour, about 3 years ago. Seemed to have a lot of downers. He crashed in the Tour de France, I think it was the year before last of all. He's gone into a deep trough, and now he's come back. He's 30 years of age. That must take some doing, as a US Postal here, led by Lance Armstrong, are battling away now. This is a race, the whole of the Tour de France, which is not only the physical side, but the courageous side and the skull driving you onwards. And Bobby Julich is looking very good indeed at the moment. And so the American here, Lance Armstrong on the front, another American there, coming up with the Credit Agricole team. Bobby Julich could do rather well too, because Bobby Julich this morning on general classification was 6th overall. Ahead of him, his teammate Jens Vogt was 4th overall. O'Grady was leading. We could see the Credit Agricole team, if they keep this up, 3 men in the top 3 places. But the gap will be closed by the Onse team, who had Igor Gonzalez Galdiano this morning in 5th place at 26 seconds. Lance Armstrong this morning was 27 seconds down on Bobby Julich for the US Postal team. Onse, in fact, had no less than 3 riders in the top 12 places. So the battle is between Onse and Credit Agricole at the moment, as US Postal try to take the lead, and they've come back so fast. They've gone well to it, and they've done it now. What a brilliant last bit here, 1:22.58. What do you make of that, Sean? God, they kept something to the end, didn't they?
Well, yes. As we had forecast, the US Postal were going to be one of the strong teams, but with all the problems they had, that's a fabulous performance.
We're going out to Festina, who must wonder what's hit them so far, because they were second at the first time check after 19 kilometres. They got pushed down to 4th after 45 kilometres. Looking at the 60 kilometre mark, I can't see them on there, because Onse were in the lead there. Kelme Costa Blanca was second. US Postal was third at 47 seconds. And now US Postal have gone past Kelme and taken the lead, pushing Kelme down into second spot at 12 seconds. But do bear in mind, the next team to come in at 5 minutes afterwards will be the Onse team. Festina out there will be the next team after that to finish, and then this team on your screen now is going to be the Credit Agricole team to finish at the end of the 67 kilometres. This is some hell of a time trial, Sean. I've seen some in the past. I've been a bit, how should I put it? I shouldn't have said the naughty things I've said about time trials in the past, because I felt sometimes it distorted the overall result of the Tour de France, and was not fair to stick it in. But this somehow, we've got so many teams that are so equal, it seems now that a team time trial amongst maybe 5 or 6 equal teams isn't a bad idea. But who could predict that?
Well, it's been an exciting team time trial. Usually team time trials are pretty dead and not enough will happening, but certainly there have been a lot of things happening in this one today, and all the teams have had their share of hard luck. You know, we see the US Postal guys crashing, the Telecom boys, Hazard was punctured and the other one got Livingstone got dropped. Then we see Bobby Julich having a puncture, so everybody has had some sort of hard luck, and it's made interesting viewing for us, and it's certainly livened up the race a lot.
And moving into second place then is the team from Festina Watches. They were second at the first time check behind Credit Agricole. They dropped to fourth at the next time check when they were 34 seconds down on Credit Agricole. Credit Agricole have yet to come. They're out there 5 minutes behind this team here. Onsay then leading at the 60 kilometre mark. Festina second at 18 seconds. Kelme Costa Blanca third at 32. US Postal fourth, but US Postal turned the wick up and galloped into the finish now. They're in the lead by 12 seconds over Kelme Costa Blanca. It's all happening in the final 10 kilometres of this race. Onsay then coming in here now. Well, they won the time trial last year in the Tour de France, Nantes Saint-Nazaire, distance 70 kilometres. They're just marching their forces. They come up here. US Postal 1:22.58. Do you think they're going to get it? It's close.
Yes, well, we see the Onsay coming in here, and they've done a very good time as well. And as we expected, it's not exactly sure what distance they are from the finish here, but they could take the lead from the US Postal.
Well, certainly they're leading US Postal by some 47 seconds, 7 kilometres down the road, so they might well now topple them from the top then. 1:21.26 to beat, and US Postal took a bit of a shaking when they had that crash and dropped a couple of men too as well. But Onsay now beginning to accelerate. They're coming round up towards our finishing straight. It's about, I think, 150-200 metres from here, so it's going to be a close call, and they've dropped a man off the back. They need to keep the 5th man in this string now, but in reality the wind is dropping a little bit, still going, blowing down their face. It has been doing almost since the start. 1:22.58 to beat. They're just going to be outside it, I think. Are they come towards the line, or are they?
They will take it.
1:22.03. Yes, they've just got it. Only just. And it shows. Well, Onsay fourth at the first time check, second at the second time check. Took the lead at 60 kilometres. And now come into the lead. Let me just update you, because after Onsay, Festina Watches will come in 5 minutes or thereabouts later, and within 10 minutes will be Credit Agricole, who so far ripped this race to pieces. Here is the Festina team riding on their American Specialized bicycles. Onsay have just finished on their Giant bikes, which is a Taiwanese manufacturing company. US Postal have come across the line on their Trek bikes, another American manufacturing company. And so those, interesting how the providers of the machinery from various parts and 4 corners of the globe, and together the international nature of the riders you see on your screen here. Credit Agricole have got a mixture of riders here, one from Norway, one from Australia, one from America, one from Germany, and 4 from France. That's the Credit Agricole team you see on your screen, under the direction of Roger Leger. And right at the moment, Roger will be giving the update checks, and what they come through here, they have so far going back to the time checks. Let me just put you in the picture about their position. Time check number 1, 19.5. They were 5 seconds ahead of Festina Watches, who have yet to finish. By check number 2, Credit Agricole still in the lead by 23 seconds against the Onsay team that have just finished and have now taken the lead on the classement. To 60 kilometres, the Onsay team were in the lead there, and we haven't got at this particular point on my screen the time of the riders on your screen now, but Onsay were in the lead, Festina Watches at 18 seconds. We've just seen the Onsay team finish, and US Postal were at second spot at 55 seconds. So looking down here, Sean's watching the picture on your screen, the gap then at the moment for the Armstrong, who's just finished. Ahead of him lies the Onsay rider Gonzalez Galdiano, who in fact was just 1 second faster than Lance Armstrong, but he's now blown that apart The leading rider for Onsay team is now some 56 seconds ahead of Lance Armstrong, last year's winner of the Tour of France. Last team on the road, first rider overall, that's Sean O'Grady. Sorry, Stuart O'Grady. Got Sean alongside me, Stuart out there. Stuart O'Grady, all the way from sunny South Australia and that great and beautiful city of Adelaide. Winner of the last 3 Tour Down Unders when the sun was shining on his back. Now with the rain dripping down his neck, riding with the rest of his Credit Agricole team to see what they can do. And the time checks we've had with their name up there now show in fact that at the 60-kilometre mark they are still in the lead. They are 30 seconds up on the Onsay team as the Festina team start to ride up towards the finish. Festina at the 60-kilometre mark were in third spot at 48 seconds. This rate of knots, providing it doesn't all blow apart the seams and the doors fall off the van, then Credit Agricole look like they're going to keep that yellow jersey, but nothing is certain in bike racing. We've seen the US Postal team touch wheels and come down, 2 of their riders crashing, and behind them 2, Livingston and Zabel, who are suffering. Livingston with the pace and Zabel with the puncture. They didn't get their men back, but still they've got up there in second spot at the finish behind Onsay. And this is, they get some idea now of the climb and the agony of this final run-in. Sean, barring accidents, this surely from the Credit Agricole team has got to be one of the best performances, and in particular looking at team time trials, one of the most exciting we've seen for a long time.
Yes, certainly they are putting in a fabulous performance, David, and you know, they have been they look very strong all the time. They're riding through with the 7 riders and they seem to be all going through and looks to be pretty comfortable compared to the Festina riders. I think they're having a little bit of problems there, and they seem to be suffering a bit. Even before they came to this last climb, they were starting to die a bit in the last 7 to 10 kilometres.
Who in their right mind would have selected a finish like this? We could have finished down the bottom of the road, couldn't we?
Yes, it's as I said earlier on when we arrived here, it's a very hard finish for our team trials, and I was very surprised they did throw in that climb in the end, because after 67 kilometres it's very difficult, and if you have 1 or 2 riders, you arrive at 6 or 7 riders and you have a number of riders who are suffering, you can lose a lot of time if they can't stay in contact, because as we said earlier, you have to finish with 5 men to get the time.
You've got some idea of the slope as that camera picked it up, the static camera, and also conditions of the road too, how wet it is now. In fact, it's got a lot wetter towards the back end of the race, and parts of the course are very much like a skating ring. It makes not only difficulty for the riders to keep their bikes upright on the bends, but also the brakes are almost obviously inefficient, but they don't work very well, and so they go across line Festina in 1:22.26.
Well, I think the performance of Festina, the riders will be happy with that, because if you went to them this morning before the start and asked them to sign for that, I would definitely think they would agree, because you know, they haven't been great in team transfer performance before, and that performance today is a very good performance from them.
So just one more team to finish, and this is the Credit Agricole squad coming along now here. So we've got ahead of them all the teams, the 20 teams ahead of them have now finished, and we're just having some information coming out of headphones. Well, they're recognising at the moment, or saying at the moment, that number 26, the yellow jersey, is going to the rider from the Onsay team, and that is Georg Jaska from Germany, riding his 3rd Tour de France. So obviously they work back that there's nobody going to challenge for that one from the other teams, Festina and or Credit Agricole, but we'll wait to see all that official information. But look at the back here, O'Grady's got to get up there. It's a time of the 5th man that matters. In fact, O'Grady could in fact sag back a little bit if he doesn't have the strength in his leg and let the 5th man take the point. But I think his determination, this gutsy Australian here, will be determined to do all he can in the time trial just to still show these in there with a shout. I can't see him just easing back at all, Stewie. He's got a real power in him, and he's a lad who loves to live. I've been with him many times. He's a great man to be with, great entertainment, and when you get in his Cobra motor car, one of these replica things, and you put your foot down in that one, it blows your brains out. Well, right now I think everybody has has had their brains blown by the tremendous performance of the Credit Agricole squad, and they're going to come up here. The time to beat then for the Onsay team is 1:22.03. Festina watches in second spot, 1:22.20. They're 17 seconds down Onsay. In third spot, US Postal Service, 1:22.58 in 55th second. Calme Costa Blanca in 1:07. Rabobank there back in fifth at 1 minute and 16 seconds. And really today has not been a good day for the Deutsche Telekom team. They finished in 1:23.22, so they are going to have to lick their wounds and just watch and look out for the mountains yet to come. A bit of a shame, I thought, that Ulrich, who was on his way possibly to get the overall victory, has let a few seconds slip here now, and the same thing for Armstrong. This team will not give up. They've got Julich, who's a great man in the mountain, and that man in the yellow jersey, O'Grady, can also ride hard too. O'Grady's got his eyes on the green jersey too as well. No points today in the points competition, but my goodness, this team led by the team manager, who really is a bit of a laid-back chap there. As he comes, the team come along here. Sean, I think you know a bit about the team manager, Roger Leger, who's been looking after this team. A few words about him quickly. They come along here because there's no doubt about it, they're going to win. Roger Leger convincingly has guided this team to victory.
Yes, well, it's a huge performance, and they have been out here looking at this route some time ago, and they're suffering at the moment. You can see they're at their end, but they've put in a performance. They've worked so hard right through, and it's natural they're suffering at the moment. But definitely, I think they're going to pull it off here.
And on the front then, you see Tor Hushford, one of the youngest riders in this race. He's only 23 years of age. He was a junior time trial champion of the world, comes from Norway, and he's ridden hard on the fatter stage. You tell them people like Jens Voigt to try and pull back the brakes, and you can see the elation at the back there too, as up they come also too. Bobby Julich in fine form too. Besser, Eno, Jenner, Moran, Voters and Voigt together with the man in the yellow jersey, O'Grady then, and Bobby Julich, and this is Bobby on your right hand side, and Hushford is still hitting here, and look at the face of O'Grady. They come across the line. They've knocked hell out of this race in 1:21.32. That's going to cause a lot of teams to scratch their heads and say, what the hell do we do next? Even leaning out of the car behind, you see the arm waving, and that just shows how pleased Roger Leger is with his team, who have done the ride of their lives. Who would have ever thought they'd have won the time trial today? And none of my colleagues picked them, I didn't, but Stewie O'Grady here and his team have done the ride of their lives.
A demonstration, David.
Wasn't it?
Certainly was. Against the big teams. Nobody really was talking about them to be in the first three. Outside the first three, they said, well, with the jersey, they'd have the morale. They possibly, defend the jersey, but...
I'd got him third, so I'm probably better than most, but I got him down as third.
You certainly are, because any of the colleagues here, they didn't seem to be in the first three. Outside the first three, fourth, fifth, that was a possibility, but what a performance.
O'Grady, well, I said earlier on, his father and mother here, his father was a road champion in Australia, a track champion too as well, and they come every year to the Tour de France to support their lad. And when he got the yellow jersey a couple of days ago, his father just couldn't believe it. He was like bomb shocked. Stewie's had the green jersey in the past, he's had the yellow jersey too a couple of times, but we're just hearing at the moment only one change in the jerseys. The white jersey now has gone to number 26 at Yasko. The rest of the jersey, polka dot jerseys, there's no Kingdom Mountains competition today, nor was there any points competition. But if I was Zabel, I'd get a bit worried about my green jersey, the way this lad's going. What do you think? Or do you think he's going to concentrate on the yellow now and to hell with the points?
Well, he's going to concentrate on the yellow for the next number of days. He can hold the yellow jersey onto the Alps, and Zabel is definitely going to be worried about his jersey, because after yesterday's performance, I think he will have some worries about O'Grady.
Well, here are the other teams. Festina coming up, but they finish in third spot. We've seen Onsay 2, they finish second, but the leaders, the winners, Credit Agricole. Quick rundown down the top places. Credit Agricole 1:21.32 winners. Onsay at 31 seconds, Festina at 54 seconds, the top three.
Well, in Bar-le-Duc, everybody really absolutely amazed at the performance by the Crédit Agricole team. Roger Leger's team really putting on a power performance in the rain, in desperately wet conditions, and breezy too. Strong head come crosswind for all the riders today, thoroughly miserable conditions. But they really rose to the occasion, and immediately afterwards we caught up with one of their riders, Tol Huzoft, just as he was getting off his bike.
How was this time trial today?
It was hard with the rain, and we was unlucky. Bobby had a puncture and we lost some times, and no, it was a good day for the team. Worked good together and it was perfect.
Did you expect to be so good and finish first?
That was the same for me. I just started to do the best, and I'm just happy for the team.
What to expect now? You have the 3 first places of the general classification. It's very good for Crédit Agricole.
Yeah, it's perfect. We had a good start with a prologue. Stu finished 8th, and then was close to get the jersey 2 days after. Bad luck, and we got them, and now it's just perfect.
Just perfect indeed, even though he was still out of breath. And there they are on the podium, the entire 9 of them. Stewie in the middle in the yellow jersey, and of course he's increased his lead overall as a result of that victory. And well, there was see Stefan Kierkegaard, one of the US Postal boys, totally breathless after their effort, and what a dramatic ride they had. Johan Brunel, their US Postal team manager, complimented them after it. He said, after the crash, I think we did a really good job in the end. When Eras crashed, we immediately made the decision to wait for him because we thought it was a bit too far from the finish. I think we lost maybe 35 or 40 seconds because of that crash, but I immediately told them to be calm, stay organised, cool down, while Eras was coming back with Van der Velde. It wasn't enough to win the team time trial, but I think we saw a very strong US Postal team today. And fortunately the injuries are not severe, so we live to fight another day. Johan Brunel then talking about his protégés, and in particular the #1 man, winner of the Tour for the last 2 years, coming home unscathed, Lance Armstrong. Well, Lance Armstrong has a little bit to do now as they get ever nearer to the mountains, because he's now a total of 1 minute and 53 seconds behind that man on the podium, who of course has given his team manager Roger Leger a lot to be pleased about. The favourites of the Tour, says Roger, are still Ulrich and Armstrong, and it's not the team time trial which is going to change much. For them, the minutes and the seconds of today are only important psychologically. For us, it's not a problem. We're just enjoying every day that we get. We're not the favourites. We don't have any pretensions for the general classification. A top 5 or perhaps even a top 10 finish would be very good for us by the end of this Tour de France. For the moment, though, we're enjoying the moment of having won the team time trial. Well, I'm sure they are enjoying the moment, and there's confirmation of what I said. O'Grady improving his position on many of the riders forecast to be there or thereabouts at the end of the day. In 11th to 20th position, you see Armstrong and Ulrich down there. Ulrich lying 2 minutes and 20 seconds in arrears of Stuart O'Grady, and going down to 28th place, there you've got people like Eras, Bourret, Laurent Jalabert slipped down, and Stefano Garzelli, of course, last year's winner of the Tour of Italy, is down in 29th place, just off our caption. And there's the man who did it today in the team time trial, beating the Oncé squad into second place. Oncé finishing 31 seconds behind them at the end of the day. Well, of course, the Tour de France, as ever, moves on. The next stage, stage 6, is a run in an easterly direction, 211.5 kilometres, taking the riders from Commercy almost into Germany, actually, to the city of Strasbourg. Reasonably flat, apart from 2/3 of the way through, a 4th and then a 2nd category King of the Mountains climb. Laurent Fignon looks ahead to stage 6. Is it going to be a transitional stage after yesterday and then the team time trial today? Oh, I'm not sure. We've had 2 very difficult stages. The first one in Verdun, look, that was very difficult for the riders because they rode strongly all day. The team time trial then, well, that always hurts a lot, and I think we might see the consequences now. But we're still comparatively early on in the Tour. The riders are still trying to break away, provoking the peloton, because obviously they want to win a stage as soon as they can. I'm not sure it's going to be a transitional stage, mainly because we've got the mountains coming soon, the Vosges, and then the Alps, of course. And you've got to remember also, it's an uncontrolled tour, this one, so I think we'll probably again see a break and not a massive sprint when we get to the finish. We're going to be very near Germany, where they all like cycling, so do you think we're going to have a very popular stage? And he says yes, with the Telecom team, Zabel and Ulrich, a lot of Germans are going to come to see the tour. I remember some finishes in Strasbourg with lots of people coming out to watch. There aren't too many professional cycling races in this part of the country, and when the tour or any other race comes, everybody turns out. It's a popular attraction. It's too bad there aren't too many races there. The countryside's beautiful. There's lots of people every time when there's a bike race to see. Well, you can see it here on Eurosport. Don't forget, as ever, we go live at 2:30 CET or 1:30 if you're watching on British Eurosport.
They certainly built up an audience, and we respect what they have done. And if you're saying what's happened to commentators who work for Eurosport, so I can talk about them, what has happened to Phil Liggett out there at the moment? Has he been sitting on the side of the road with a little plaque which says, please, a wife and a canal barge to look after? But the answer is that Phil is working for an American company as well, and he's out there with Paul Sherwin covering the tour too as well. So he's not out of action, he's not disappeared, and of course he is the president of the CTC, and later on in August he's going to have a special Phil and Friends ride, which you'll see more in the cycling press, to go out there and take part in a ride up in Yorkshire. Phil's still very active on his bike, and we're happy to have him still in the team. I think, God, this must be his 27th Tour de France, and we, I think, are virtual newcomers to this one, except Sean Kelly here. How many tours did you ride, Sean?
13.
13? That's unlucky for some. This is Friday the 13th. If you have a heart attack, I'll have to give you the kiss of life, won't I? He's smiling here. Right, back to the race then. 1919, first time to come here. I mentioned earlier in the programme, those are days when they would cover in the Tour de France a massive distance over 15 stages of 5,560 kilometres. You can imagine that was something in the order of about 3,500 miles. They had 15 days to cover that distance. They had 14 days of rest. The longest stage, 482 kilometres, that's 300 miles. The shortest stage was 200 miles, and they'd often start at 10 o'clock at night and ride through the night and through the next day, because doing 300 miles you have to start quite early in the morning or the day before, and sometimes they would start anywhere up to 4 o'clock in the morning too. How things have changed then. 69 riders started in 1919 and 11 arrived back in Paris. The first year then that they had the yellow jersey, Henri de Grand set up in 1919 the Tour de France 7 months at the armistice, and it's been a great race all the way through ever since then, again only broken up by the Second World War. That was the year when Fausto Coppi was born. I mentioned that because many people know I'm a great fan of his. That was the year too when the Treaty of Versailles created the Society of Nations, and that was the year when the Alcock and Brown flew across the Atlantic. Looking on then to the final time we came into Strasbourg, that was when Van Poppel won the stage. On that particular occasion, Miguel Indurain being the overall race victor. So that also was the year that Nigel Mansell became champion of the world, and in fact Sean Kelly's son is Nigel. Did you name your son Nigel after Nigel Mansell, or was it pure coincidence? That's not a question, the Tour de France.
No, it's after Nigel Mansell.
And he won here. Perhaps you didn't know that. You won the World Championship in 1992. Thought you liked that.
Yes. Well, coming up.
The gap's coming down now, Sean. You said they are going to get caught. It looks odds on if you nip down the bookies, eh?
Yes, well, 14 kilometres to finish, around under 45 seconds. So it's going to be not possible for them to get the finish, and against so many teams riding behind, as we forecasted after the climb, if they got together a number of teams, well then it would be the only satisfaction I think these 5 riders will have is riding out at the front for 150 kilometres today.
Ludo Dixon, look at the expression on this man's face. Champion of Belgium, stage victor in the Tour de France now, concentrating hard here, really determined to show he's dragging this a lot along now. He's setting up, by the way, Ludo, because in the pink and the blue colours of the Lampre-Daikin team is the lad from South Africa, Hunter. Now Hunter's lying third on the points competition. He's 49 points in his credit. Zabel has 75 points. Stuart O'Grady is wedged between Zabel and Hunter with 69 points. Now then, a difficult, easy question because you're the expert, Sean. Is O'Grady going to take part in this sprint, or is he going to let the thing go and try and pick up the green jersey later once he loses his yellow jersey? I don't mean to be disrespectful to Stewie, but in reality, some of the big climbs yet to come, we have yet to get into the big mountains, will push him back down, I'm sure, because the real mountain climbs will come through. Should he go for points today, or should he just let the lot ride by and just preserve his yellow jersey without any problem of coming down in a crash? What do you think?
Well, he's got to go for the sprint today. He's got to stay up there. If he's thinking of the green jerseys for Paris, well, then he's got to do that. And the danger is with the yellow jersey, if you crash or something, you can get knocked out very easy off the race. So that's the other thing you think about a little bit. Wearing the green jersey, not to take too many risks. But I think we will see Stuart O'Grady taking part in this sprint and trying to stay up there and mark some points. Because if he loses a lot of points against Zabel and the other guys, well, then it's going to be very difficult to catch back later in the tour.
And also, there's 20 seconds bonus for first, 12 for second, and 8 for third. Is that worthwhile going for?
Well, I don't think he's going to be majorly concerned about the time bonifications. I would think it's just the points of the green jersey that he has to stay up there and not to lose a big number of points against Zabel, because Zabel is back in the group here actually, and the other sprinters also came back. Tom Steele is after coming back into the bunch, so most of the sprinters, Weinstein is back, and so all the sprinters seem to be made their way back into the bunch again. So it'll be an interesting sprint.
You are looking forward to this, aren't you, with great interest? I can see the look on your face now. If you switched on for the first time, it's Friday afternoon, come home early, maybe some children watching this because they've been flipping the channels and picked up the Eurosport. Sean Kelly here has had the green jersey in the Tour de France on 4 occasions, multi-winner of the classics as well, particularly things like the Milan-San Remo, when you have to come down at a great rate of knots to win things like that. And so hang on in here, it won't be long before we come to finish those you're watching live in the afternoon. If you've missed the early part of our program, we will first of all at the end of this program have an update from Mike Smith, and if you wish, and then you can listen also if you just come on now to our highlights program later on. And if you're watching a highlights program tonight, well, you might as well go to bed and watch it tomorrow morning as they go round the roundabouts and cutting the corner in some respects. It's not an easy run in for the next few kilometres, Sean. We drove along here and you kept going, but it seemed to get a bit better in the last 7 k's.
Yes, a bit later maybe, David. There was quite a few islands in the middle of the road, and there were quite a few bends which were quite dangerous, with islands in the middle of the road also. So it was a pretty dangerous run in. But the last 3 or 4 k's were pretty straightforward. The finish is left the last kilometre and a half dead straight and a very, very wide road. And we see Verbruggen, who went in the attack here just a second ago. So this is going to break up the rhythm of the leaders, and with only about 25-30 seconds on an advantage over the fast coming bunch, I think it's going to be difficult.
3 riders away.
Bessie in second position and Brochard in third position.
Now Bessie's done not a tap all day. If they stay away and he wins this stage, will they hit him with a bicycle pump?
No, I think that's an understanding between the riders. He's got the race leader back the road in Stuart O'Grady, so it's normal that he wouldn't do any of the riding, and he's allowed to do that. That's something when you've got the race leader in your team, the yellow jersey, it's something that's understood in the bunch.
Well then, just then confirming the overall classification of the Tour. Stage 6, Friday the 13th, maybe unlucky for some, particularly to Paris, who lost out to Beijing in the selection for the Olympics in 2008. So bad luck then to my French colleagues. I've no doubt we shall find them under the table tonight, having originally planned to celebrate the success, but now they may drown their sorrows. And so, with that Olympic selection out of the way today, who's going to win the stage today on this Commercy to Strasbourg, 221 kilometres in all, as the chase is now on to catch our breakaways. So the situation running in toward the finish, the Crédit Agricole boys beginning to go now, despite the fact they've got a man down the road, and they're defending the lead of Stuart O'Grady, who started this morning in the yellow jersey. In second spot was Jens Voigt, also from Crédit Agricole, at a gap of 26 seconds. In third spot this morning was Bobby Julich from Crédit Agricole as well. 3 from the Crédit Agricole in the top 3 places. So we got an Australian, a German and an American. And Bobby Julich there bringing up the third spot, 27 seconds down on Stuart O'Grady. In fourth spot this morning was the rider from the Once team, and that was Igor Gonzalez Galdiano at 57 seconds. And a great watch of the Once riders filled the next 3 places. So 4 Once riders together, snapping at the heels of the Crédit Agricole team. Belocchi then was in 5th spot behind his teammate, 1 minute and 7 seconds down. Last year Belocchi finished 3rd overall. I'll keep this going down now as the gap is now 30 seconds. You can watch what's happening, but some people may not know the overall situation from yesterday. So Once then, the 5th place belonging to Belocchi, 1 minute and 7 seconds. Once rider Sastre was in 6th spot, 1 minute and 8 seconds down. Jaska from the Once team, the German rider, at 1 minute and 12 seconds. In 8th spot was Christophe Mollo, who finished 4th last year in the Tour de France. The Festina rider, 1 minute and 17 seconds down. Guy Torres from Once, 1 minute 20 seconds down in 9th spot. Serrano again from Once in 10th spot, 1 minute 23 seconds. But if you look down that list there, except for O'Grady, there isn't a great sprinter in that group. And the 20 seconds bonus is up there for grabs, but none of those riders I've just read out to, I think, can get the stage victory and challenge Stuart O'Grady even more. So behind them, back in the 15th spot, Lance Armstrong, last year's winner, is 1 minute 53 seconds down overall. In 17th spot, the 7th place man last year, Santiago Botero from Kelme, 2 minutes 11 seconds. Ulrich finished 2nd last year, and after the stage yesterday, he's now 2 minutes 20 seconds down on O'Grady. In 5th spot last year was Haras. He's now 21st, 2 minutes and 34 seconds down. So I don't see, unless disaster happens, Sean, that barring any disaster, that the yellow jersey will go off the shoulders of Stuart O'Grady. But who? I think you're going for Kursipu to win the stage still?
Well, yes, I said Kursipu earlier on, but I wasn't sure how many of the sprinters were in the bunch at that moment, and they all seem to be back in contention in the bunch. But with 6 kilometres to go, it's around the 20 seconds, so it's going to be close for the bunch to come back. But I still think they will do it, because these guys have started to attack each other. If they had rode on a bit further and pulled well together, kept riding, sharing the pace, pulling the 5 leaders, I think they could have just about made it. But I still think they're going to be reeled in the final kilometres.
So if they get caught and nobody goes hammering off down the front, the top sprinters then, Eric Zabel wearing the green jersey for the Telecom team. O'Grady wears the yellow jersey for the Crédit Agricole team. He's leading overall on general classification. Zabel has 75 points. O'Grady has 69. Hunter of the Lamprey Daikin team, the South African, has 49 points. They're the top 3. There are 35 points for the winner at the end. We're getting so close now to the finish here, and I don't know, 5 kilometres to go. It just seems to me that this is the moment when anybody's politically and preferably prepared to throw the hat into the ring might well find themselves with a chance. But it's so flat, isn't it, Sean, coming in here? How can anybody stay away? It must be a Brent Spinney. What do you think?
Yes, it's one of those finishes. The last 5 kilometres, very straight all the time. It's not suited for a rider on his own here when you have a big bunch at 15 seconds, coming down at you. So it's not suitable. If there's a finish with a lot of corners left and right, well then he would have some better chance of getting to finish. But I think we will see him being reeled in any moment now.
Well, Vic Verbrugge took the leader's jersey in the Tour of Italy just a few weeks ago. Can he get a stage victory today in the Tour de France? That's the route they're going to take coming in. And as Sean was saying, there's quite a good run in, no street furniture to disrupt the activity. A bit of right-hander just on that bend on the left-hand side, but that's no big problem. And then they come down, you see a long straight run down the Quai Louis Pasteur to finish here in Strasbourg. Verbrugge really driving hard here. Well, the whole of Belgium will be holding their breath. They got to the stage victory and the gap down to 12 seconds. One man on his own. And when did he go away with that group?
The five-man group went away at was it 54 kilometres or 45 kilometres?
Yeah. So if it's
at 45 kilometres they went away, and that's the five-man group. They were away for more than 150 kilometres until the moment Verbrugge went to on his own, which is only a number of kilometres ago.
Nearly 100 miles. Verbrugge has been with four other riders in the lead. They just got near to 4 minutes lead, but it was just like a man sitting there in the river playing with the fish, the salmon, taking it in, taking it out, taking it in, taking it out. And now he's clocked off on his own because he can realise, he looks back over his shoulder, the only way to get the stage was to go off on his own. But right behind him, the bunch now can see him in the distance. This is the calculator. When we were going into Verdun, they're going to catch him. I was amazed how I thought that Jalabert, who was there with Dirksen, might take the yellow jersey off Stuart O'Grady, but in the last kilometre the bunch just went wham. Why is it that they go so fast, the bunch, in that last 1.5 kilometres when the rider's still riding his socks off? What's the difference in speed, Sean, roughly?
Well, there's a difference of, maybe 10 k's an hour in the final. It's amazing the way the bunch can go in the end, and a guy on his own with 15 or 20 seconds advantage, a number of kilometres to finish is just impossible when there's a bunch breathing down your neck, and they close down you so quickly, and you lose the seconds. They just click away so quickly.
Well, the Mappe team have not done much in this race. They've certainly got Garzelli hovering there in 29th place on general classification at 3 minutes and 44. They've had the national champion of Italy, Nardello, fall. There, I think the diminutive figure of Bettini trying to come through here at the moment. They've got Tom Seals as a great sprinter, but he's still getting back into form. This looks like also the last day for him to get something, but do you rate Tom today?
Well, Steels hasn't had a great tour, and he hasn't been in great form. We've seen him losing contact with the bunch on the flatter stages when there was a lot of side winds, something which is not norm from him, and we see his Abel is up here now also. So, but yeah, Steels is a perfect finish for him, dead flat the last number of kilometres. So maybe we'll see him pulling off the stage today.
Mappe on the front at the moment. The light colours behind is for Fassa Bartolo, who've got Bartoli, a very good sprinter. You see the chap with this sort of a skin haircut, and that is Angelotto riding for AG2R in the lightish blue with the whitish stripe and the dark black with it too. He's trying to set up for Cursifu, who is a very, very fast sprinter indeed. He's taken the yellow jersey in Tour de France in the past because of his sprinting facilities to pull back the road. In the centre there of your picture, way back about 12th or 15th front, is Stuart O'Grady, and he's on the wheel of Zabel. How do you rate that, Sean?
Well, the place to be. He's got to stay close to Zabel and finish as close as him as he can, beat him if possible, but without taking major risks. Just stay close to Zabel and not lose too many points in the green jersey classement.
Angelotto burying himself on the front, the pink and blue jerseys of the Lamprey Daikin team, trying to set it up for the South African Hunter as well in there. They're starting to go all across the road. The top sprinters now finding their last lead out man as they're beginning to challenge for this one. Go on, Sean, is still going for Cursifu.
Well, yes, I've stuck my neck out, as they say, and I'm still going to stay to Cursifu, but I think there's a lot of sprinters in there now, and it's anyone's choice which of those can pull it off.
Malaysia trying hard here for Domo Farm Freaks to set it up too, but have they got anybody capable of coming around the top sprinters? I doubt it too. So again, moving through, look at Zabel, lies 1, 2, 3, 4 back to the back in green. On the pink and blue shirts, that is a Hunter looking for the wheel of one of the Domo Farm Freaks riders. Still a massive Fassa Bartolo behind. Here they come, the gallop is starting here, the ducking and diving behind, and Capella here, the champion of Belgium, trying to come through too as well. They're all over the race now. Sean will spot to see who gets it. It's going to be so close as Hunter starts to go there. Capella on the right, Capella on the right, Capella on the right, and Capella's going like stink ahead of Cursifu, and Zabel just behind him. Capella may have gone too soon. He's burying himself to the line, and he's lost it now as Zabel starts to come through, but he's not. He's been cut out again, and in the centre then Nazon trying to go for Bonjour. They've left it too late, and across the line it was Cursipeau. That's another glass of Guinness I have you. Just look at this, Sean. You were here, you had your hands on the handlebars, you were looking for the gaps. We've seen Tom Still, we've seen Sabo, we've seen Cursipeau, we've seen everybody in there. What a sprint.
Yes, what a sprint. With the lead out from Capel, that was a making it for Cursipeau. Like, he gave him such a fabulous lead out, and you know the power he had there, Capella. He laid out a long ways out, and he kept it going, and Cursipeau, you know, just waited for his moment. And you know, you don't get many lead outs like that. And we see Weinstein's, like, you know, he's
world champion, yeah.
Yes, that is Weinstein's there in the 6th position. Zabel, you know, Zabel is in a good position, but Cursipeau, the lead out he got, you know, it's hard to beat Cursipeau when you get a perfect lead out, because he is very fast over the last 200 metres.
What about that?
Yes. Well, that is normal. Something that, you know, happened quite a lot in those mass bunch sprints.
Listening back at home, you might have just heard that's a comment like that. If you can't stand the heat of the kitchen, then don't come into it. That's typical sprinting at its best.
Well, there we are, the race coming into Strasbourg at a tremendous rate of knots. Did you notice the average speed for the stage? 43.66 kilometres an hour, and a rip-roaring sprint into the heart of Strasbourg from Jan Cursipeau, following that great lead-out from the new Belgian champion Capel. It was a tremendous result for Cursipeau, and needless to say, he was delighted. I tried to keep cool on the earlier stages and tried to think that it wasn't the end of the world if I did nothing in this tour. My teammates told me not to worry, that one day it would be my day. Well, today it was my day. I did it, and needless to say, I'm very, very happy. It's his 2nd stage. He won one in the Tour de France a couple of years ago, and he's had a great run so far this year. That's his 14th professional win this year alone. Now look at this, with all the big boys there, Cursipeau, Nazon, Schwarade, Zabel, Steele's right on the inside. It was touch and go all the way. Capella, though, was the man who gave him that great lead out, and he had this to say: my work for Cursipeau is at the same time simple and difficult. It's better when in the race you've got the wind almost on your back, because then you've only got the strongest man that can get ahead. My job is to follow him in the last 20 kilometres, make sure I know where he is, be there by his back wheel, and then in the last 500 metres get past him and lead him out. You knew then that he was on your wheel eventually and that it would work. Well, when I'm leading, I can often see his front wheel between my legs. I try to go just as far as possible, get him as near as possible to the finish. Jan's very strong. In fact, he's one of the strongest riders here in pure speed. I think he's the best. He's certainly demonstrated that today here in Strasbourg. Well, I'm sure that Cursipeau would be the first man to thank his teammate Capel there for the lead out that he got, and there you see him on the podium for the 2nd time in his career in the Tour de France. Now, if you're looking for Tom Steele's name there, you won't find it, because Steele's was somewhat harshly, you may think, relegated to last position in the bunch there for shouldering into Eric Zabel at one point. Well, that's the stage result. Of course, in terms of the overall rankings, there wasn't much change in the end. There's the escape group with 14 kilometres to go. Axel Merckx was in there, was he not? He had a pretty good day. Today everyone was attacking, he said. This morning the team target was to be in every break with somebody, so I followed the instructions. I was that somebody. I'm on the tour though to win a stage, and today I showed what I could do. I'm not thinking particularly about the general classification anymore, but a stage win might come nicely before the end of this Tour de France. Axel Merckx, the former Belgian champion, winner of the stage in the Giro, and of course the son of the great Eddy Merckx. Well, as I said, on general classification, no change because all the big names were in that massive peloton that came into Strasbourg more or less together. So Stuart O'Grady will get yet another day in yellow. There's confirmation. No change at all in that. Still the 3 Crédit Agricole men right at the top of the tree as a result of their brilliant team time trial. Points, well, again, still Eric Zabel. In fact, he increased his lead very slightly on Stuart O'Grady, just stretching the lead by a couple of points. With Jan Kirsipou, of course, getting the stage win, he bumps himself right up into 3rd place there and could yet be a green jersey contender. He has in fact held the green jersey during a Tour de France in the past. Patrice Elgon, you saw him there. Well, he won the first climb and he got some points on the big one to just hold off the challenge from Laurent Brochard. And the best young rider is the Onze man Jörg Jakscher, who just has an 8-second advantage over Gutierrez and Brad just 12 seconds back. Quite an interesting battle between the youngsters there. Well, as ever, we move on, of course, to the next stage of the Tour de France. Stage 8, beg your pardon, Stage 7, Strasbourg to Colmar. Here's Sean Kelly.
162 kilometres, with the first day of the mountains. 2 climbs of 2nd category, 3 climbs of 3rd category, so it will be a taste of the mountains for the riders, and I think we will see the riders who are really capable of doing the general classement in this Tour de France.
Do you think we can expect some first real attacks against Ulrich, against Armstrong?
Normally not. I think it's a little bit early yet, but in cycling you never know. We have seen some days where some peculiar things happen, and maybe tomorrow is the day.
Well, it might well be the day, so don't you dare miss it. Just a reminder that for Stage 7 from Strasbourg to Colmar, we're going live at the earlier time. Don't forget this, 1 o'clock CET, or if you're watching on British Eurosport or anywhere in the UK, please tune in to us at midday.
Tour de France highlights.